to Devon Dragon Radio, part of the Internet News Network, and one of these days I'll be able to say it right. I welcome today Michelle Lucas, a wonderful author, motivational speaker, and so much more. So welcome.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, Melissa. Thanks for having me.
So you're like me, you have your hands on a lot of different cookie jars.
Too many.
No, it's never too many unless you make it too many.
If they're sugar cookies or butterscotch cookies, then there's not too many.
Yeah. So what came first? Let's start there.
Good question. Chicken or the egg? Which did come first? I now believe that who we really are came first. So my writing came first. Yours. I believe we were born to do it, but then life pushes you or squeezes you, or we conform or whatnot. And there were a lot of signs along my way in life to only be in this self-help and self-transformation field. It was truly my passion, yet there were also a lot of expectations and family and kids, and there was a need for money. And I even left my husband, and so I had my own mortgage and bills, and I kept getting pushed farther and farther into the fields that my family expected of me, meaning science and research, the corporate world.
Yeah.
Even though all along the way, there were big signs that would tell me to only do this work and to be a writer. Yet, I don't know if I didn't allow myself to do it or if we hide our strengths, but I do know this. That writing definitely came first. I just wasn't completely aware of it until I made myself do it. And I made myself do it because I was in so much pain. I mean, physical pain, emotional pain, that I had no other choice but to try exactly what it was that I loved, and only that. So the writing, the ability to understand self-transformation, to help others, to be a light for that comes first. We're born with it. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense, because we are born to do something in our life. A lot of times we allow outside forces, family, friends, relatives, husbands, to push us into a direction that may not be our light path.
I agree.
So it's when we take a step back and we find the path that we are meant to be on as an individual, that's when things positively start to happen.
Absolutely. And it's funny how life can really push us to step back, isn't it? It pushed me. It's not fun.
Yeah, when I was 28, here's a funny story. When I was 28, I had my life completely planned out for me. Okay. I was going to be a restaurant manager by the time I was 29. I was going to own a restaurant by the time I was 35. Guess what? I didn't do any of that.
You didn't do it? What'd you do?
I had a medical emergency, had 2 strokes in 2011, brain surgery. And I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, so what do? I start writing. I didn't start publishing until 2016.
You and I have a very similar story. Yours is, I think, definitely a little more difficult. I'm sorry to hear that. I did see another thing though. First of all, yes, I totally affirm what you just said as very close to my personal experience. And it's so hard, and it is like life puts that on us. But I did see something else similar. You're from Lorain, Ohio?
I am.
Do you know where Waynesville, Ohio is?
I do.
That's where I'm from.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is beyond awesome. I mean, we don't get too many Ohio authors or people on this show. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. I'm sure there's plenty of good ones. I know where I came from. You know, you were pushed into Procter and Gamble. That's where I went. You know that. GM, GE, Procter and Gamble. That's the thing of those areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I felt that I would look stupid and not worthy enough and pushed all my direction in that way. And of course, my parents had a lot of contribution to that. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, yeah, mine was not brain surgery or strokes. And at such a young age, I'm just as traumatizing. I'm so sorry to hear that. For me, it was shingles in the eyeball.
Oh.
Eyeball. Yeah. Yeah, and they caught it too late. It wasn't their fault. It was mine. I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I thought something like a bug was in my eyeball for a week until I woke up one morning and my entire face looked like somebody had taken a baseball bat to it. And at that moment, the pain was a 10. All the nerves in my eyeball, the nose, the head, it was like migraines, and the steroids wouldn't do anything. It was over the hill for pain, right?
Ooh.
So the pain was 6 months, but that was when I taped my eyeball shut out of absolute, I just gave up. I was too hurt to cry.
Mm-hmm.
So I taped my left eyeball up and I got out my journals and I said, that book that I was always supposed to write, here it goes. And the very first thing I wrote on that couch was the dedication. And I dedicated it to myself. And I said, to Michelle, if you know how this story ends, you would never waste a moment in darkness. And that I did not know what the story was going to be. I just wrote it over the years ahead to write myself out, even though I had been helping people for 11 years. I worked helping people in self-transformation and whatnot. I'd written a lot for them and taught classes, but went to Procter and Gamble, and everything just kind of started crushing me. Relationships, my health, everything. But writing that book, the first one, that uncovered truth after truth after truth. And something would come up in the book that I had never thought about before. I had forgotten about. And this is an example. And it's to tell people because it's so unconscious, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to say because I love my mother, I love my parents dearly, but they're not going to listen to this. They're in their own Waynesville world, okay? So God love them. As my career went on and as my children were growing and the responsibilities got larger and larger, what I noticed was after every success, I would have like a little attack, let's say, a shaking. If I had a success, not a failure, success. And it got so bad that I went to a doctor and he diagnosed me with PTSD from the amount of things that had been happening. And they wanted to put me on medication. And I said, no, it's not coming from there, it's coming from someplace else. And writing the book uncovered it. And what it was that for whatever reasons, my mother, apparently, I don't remember this, but it was uncovered in the book. Growing up, when I had a success, and at one point I wanted to write books, mm-hmm. She would in a way punish me. It would be the opposite of what you'd usually do for a child. Yeah. So a success, and I didn't remember any of this. It started on coming out in the book. Then the beauty of it was once I published the book, the most embarrassing thing happened that an author can have happened just about, is I'm on Amazon one day, and I think my mom doesn't know about the book. It's completely hushed with my family. Yeah. There is a review from my mother. Now, you're not supposed to have your parents, your friends, reviewing. And my mother, who I'm sure people thought, wow, she's having her mom review. her book. No, my mom was the last person in the world I'd ever want to read this book. And she gave me a really good review. And there's even a chapter called Mother. And there are very detailed dreams I had about my anger with her, and very, correcting her over and over in the book in a way. Mm-hmm. We have never had a better relationship since the book was published. Then I have relatives coming out of the woodwork calling me to tell me these things that happened when I was a child that I don't remember at all. But it was exactly what was revealed in the book. They said, yeah, if you would even sit on your grandfather's lap and he would, oh, I love you so much, your mom would just be irate. Mm-hmm. I don't remember that. So once that all came up out of my unconscious, it all healed. Oh, yeah. And I don't have any of those such panics. I don't have trembling. I don't have any of that. I have pure joy now. And so for me, it was through writing. And I think there has to be a lot more people out there like me, and maybe they just don't know it yet, or right? Or haven't found the time. And I would just say, do it. Absolutely do it. It can be a big part of self-transformation.
I tell this to a lot of veterans because I love working with veterans. And the first line of defense for any VA hospital is, here's a pill, take it. Right. No, you have to work through whatever's in your mind.
Yes.
And I am not an expert. I am not in the medical field. But if you take what's in your mind, you don't have to publish it. Do this for yourself. Just write down your thoughts.
Yes.
My grandfather taught me this. Just write down your thoughts. It doesn't have to be a journal. It doesn't have to be cohesive. It doesn't even have to be coherent.
I agree.
Just write. Because your subconscious is trying to work through a problem. It's an internal infection, if you think about it this way.
I agree.
It's an internal infection. You're building this infection with poison because you're not treating it, not doing anything with it. So it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, what happens? It will eventually rupture.
Yes.
So this is going to come out in your physical health. This is going to come out in your emotional health. This is going to come out in panic attacks. This is going to come out in any way it's going to come out.
I agree. You know what else I found? That it was of my heart more so than my brain. Mm-hmm. It was an energy, a pressure here. What I say by the end of the book, that this subconscious was masking the power of the little girl. Mm-hmm. I realized that who we are born to be, we have everything we need when we're born in our DNA, everything we need to blossom, and that everything that was put on me that wasn't me, and then I kept making that bigger. So what happened was I built a persona. I kept building a persona. I'm a scientist now, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm a manufacturer. Now I'm doing this, and now I'm having these kinds of relationships. And the persona kept getting bigger and bigger, and it was masking what I already had and who I already was. And it took shingles in the eyeball and a bad injury to my neck and that kind of pain to actually write 2 books. The first one, which is Elephants Never Lie, mm-hmm. but there's series coming after that are just nonfiction. Okay. Right? And it took all of that to, bit by bit, like you said, unravel this thing that's going to burst. It had already burst as shingles. That was one way it burst for me.
Yeah. We put on these personas. Everyone does it. Because we're taught from an early age, we have to be like Sally Mae next door. We have to keep up with the Joneses. We have to do this. We have to do that. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
We have to be ourselves.
Yes. Yes, exactly who we are. Yes.
See, I'm so thankful that I have my daughter, because I was like, I'm not going to tell her what she has to be.
Yes.
Find her strengths, and we're going to cultivate her strengths. It may not be something that I'm up on. I don't understand web page design. I don't understand the stories that she comes up with, because as much as I love reading Stephen King,
I get
I don't know where she comes up with her stories, because unless she's seen it on TV with one or two movies, she's never been exposed to his work.
Wow.
Yes.
So she has a gift coming through.
She does have a gift. She is my little Stephen King writer.
How old is she?
She is 17.
Good for her. You're watching her blossom.
I am. And I'm like, okay, when she's coming up to my room, or we're having a mommy-daughter talk, and she says, I have a wonderful idea for a story. I'm like, okay, let me turn everything off, give you my attention, because I'm going to need Tina, who's my assistant, in about 5 minutes, because you're going to scare me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
that's amazing.
But this is what I learned for myself, taking care of myself, growing up to be a shy, timid, paranoid person who's, the doctor says, here, you suffer from paranoia. Here, you suffer from depression. Here, you suffer from I don't know.
Right.
And,
I agree.
And it wasn't any of this. It was me taking my light, my inner strength, and pushing it down to be everyone around me told me I had to be.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. Yes. Yeah. I remember that for me, that first book, what was so amazing is maybe I would write a chapter, but then something would happen in my life to answer the questions that were coming out in the story. Okay. And one of them was, I went to get a Reiki session, and in the middle of this session, all of a sudden I'm seeing myself as 5 years old, and I was super, super shy, and I don't ever remember being shy. And I watched this little girl in the dance classroom, and all I remember is being a teenager and being very boisterous, being the center of the stage, going off to Procter and Gamble. I was the one that would pound my fist in meetings. I'm the one that yelled and trained and said, go, this is what we're doing, kind of thing. And I'm watching this little girl when I was 5, being very shy. And all these epiphanies came to me that the shy girl was the one that came here to blossom. Maybe it's an internal process, maybe it's through writing, creativity, whatever. But then when I got the same kind of thing, my parents, they put me in everything to push people on me, to push me out there, push me. That started the persona. And then I just built on it, right? I just built on it. And the epiphanies just kept coming. And the synchronicities from the first book were unbelievable. So the middle of the book, I sat down to write this story. And this story was going to come from a memory. And this may sound odd to you, but I was born remembering places, remembering times. I really believe they were past lives, okay? And I believe that I came in with such a pain, a longing, someone I missed, and I was looking for this person, that I would sacrifice anything just to have that kind of love in a way. But I remembered these places, and they were in France and England, and I sat down to write the story, and that was going to be the middle of my book. I just fell asleep. I became comatose from the shingles, and I'm going back in time to figure out how this started for me, that my life would get so incredibly difficult. And I wrote a completely different story, not one I'd ever heard of before. And it was during the Irish potato famine, and I have never studied it. I've had no interest in it. Of course, I have compassion for it, but my family does have Irish blood, but I never felt connected to it. Matter of fact, I stood up against it, okay? I felt Native American blood. I know that's in us, and they tried to hide it, and I tried to be it. Okay, so I didn't know anything. You're the same way. Okay, so I had no interest in my Irish ancestry, and I knew zero. So I write the middle of the book. My gosh, this whole story comes out about violins and a man being a master violinist, and him working in York and in England, and how he saves these drowning girls, well, twins, but one does not live. Mm-hmm. And I told my daughter about it. I said, this is so weird. This story I just wrote, I wrote it in 3 days, and I didn't have it in my mind, and it just came out. And I asked my daughter, would you read some of it? And she read some of it, and she said, that's, really interesting. So a couple of weeks go by, and all my aunts and my mom, so they're having a get-together, a luncheon. And they invite me and my daughter. It's going to be a girls' day kind of thing. Well, what I didn't know is they had gotten an account on Ancestry.com, and they had done all of this research, and they wanted to tell all of us, share it all. Mm-hmm. Melissa, they told an almost identical story of our Irish ancestor as a violin maker, same places, the twins, girls, the whole 9 yards. My daughter, she about fell out of her chair when she heard them say it.
We are born with DNA. DNA mm-hmm. is the memory of everything.
Yes.
By science, even though a lot of scientists disprove this or try to temper it down, it is possible that the DNA remembers past experiences.
Absolutely, it does. Yes. I've remembered a lot, and it's been painful, not easy.
Yeah.
It's been more painful. And the memories aren't necessarily at all in the brain. They are feelings in the body, or an attraction to something, mm-hmm. or attracting something bad, so to speak, something difficult, because maybe we died doing that, or somebody in our life, in our ancestry, died doing that. And I will just back up for 1 second and say that part of the book, I did change to a flute instead of violin at the last, mm-hmm. because I put a demon in it. And I didn't want to take from Anne Rice's violin, where the demon is using the violin. So it's a flute. But that said, I was attracting these same things over and over, like all these memories. And I'm sure going to Procter & Gamble and going through the really difficult relationships and separations and all that was kind of clearing it out. It was like giving yourself forgiveness, letting it go, whatever it was. And the writing then was the culmination of everything that brought it into my awareness that how important it really was, and that it's where all of my passion has always been. Right. And as soon as my passion came out, my life completely lined up. Everything's been wonderful. All the money's been there. I haven't had a single health issue other than a little allergies. I got to move to Sedona, Arizona, where I always wanted to move to. I've had nothing but absolutely beauty in my life. And I really believe it's because I let the passions out. I let the little girl out. Mm-hmm. And I probably am, again, much more shy, which is kind of funny, than I was all those years in that persona.
Right. That's what people don't understand. When you're doing a persona, you can be anything. But just being anything doesn't mean that's who you are.
Correct.
Universe, I'm very big on talking to the universe on things. Yes. And this could go back to the Native American ancestry of mine. But everything has to align perfectly within the universe for you to find yourself. Well, not really. You have to find yourself to align yourself with the universe.
Exactly, because you are a perfect imprint of the universe. And without that, then the universe is not in balance. That's what I saw, because I had a near-death experience when I was 29. At the same time that you had your thing. Mine was a diabetic attack, but it wasn't like you, where you're in the hospital for God only knows how long. But I had near-death experience, and I saw that everyone is a perfect imprint of the universe. And if you're not being that, then you're not holding up your part of the deal, right? You're not being a part of the balance of the universe. So I agree with you 100%. Finding yourself. Yeah.
I mean, I could have learned this when I was 4 years old and nearly drowned, but everyone around me suppressed everything.
I bet, right? I bet you did. Was that in Lorraine?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was visiting family, so it wasn't in Lorraine, but it was close by. Okay. But at the same time, when you go, Mommy, I was dead. I seen death. And you're 4 years old. Your parents are going to go, sure you did, honey. It was just a dream. And that didn't happen. So you grow up being told you have to be down here.
Right.
And then you find out later when you start aligning yourself with the universe, because you're finding the truth within yourself.
Yes.
There's other truths out there than what we're seeing, what our parents are saying, what the media is saying, what the news is saying. There's things we have to find within ourselves in order to be right.
Completely agree, Melissa, completely. Do you think that you forgot some of the stuff with that 4-year-old experience? You remember it all. You do. Good for you.
See, I have one of those brains. I may not be able to recall what happened yesterday.
Okay.
Moment. But if you give me time, I will recall classes. Work from home, you get dogs. Doing classes in high school, in junior high, in elementary school.
Okay. Right, okay.
Let's try that.
There we go.
No, sometimes there's just grandma's nurses, they're supposed to be here at 11. Well, you see what time it is. It's like 12:30. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. No, it's fine.
But that's what happens when you work from home.
Yes,
but
it is.
I was saying, I have one of those memories. I recall a Pacific classroom with a Pacific teacher. I can tell you who was in the classroom, what they were wearing, what the lesson was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have that at all. I can't remember hardly anything.
But I can go right back to kindergarten.
Wow.
If I need to. So
that's amazing.
That's how my brain works. And I was arguing in 2011 with one of my good friends.
Yes.
Over a history class. It's so relevant for today, but we had this argument in 2011 about government and history. So I started quoting the teacher. And as I'm quoting the teacher,
my goodness,
what he was wearing, not the teacher, but the guy I was arguing with, who's one of my good friends, he was like, I kinda vaguely remember that lecture, but you're telling me it verbatim. How?
That's amazing. That is really amazing, Melissa.
Yeah, but I can tell you what I did yesterday.
Wow.
I'll be able to tell you what I did yesterday in 3 weeks.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember almost anything. I probably have like 5 events in my data bank of growing up. I just don't remember anything. Never really did.
Yeah. See, here recently, I've been going through, a lot of things I blocked out because they're negative.
Okay.
They're bad. They're horrible experiences. And I'm going through, there were horrible experiences to live through. But you know what? I wouldn't be here today if I didn't live through it.
Yeah, it squeezes us.
Yeah. So what can I learn from those horrible experiences from the past that I can grow?
Exactly. And so much of it is not actually even learning of the brain. Mm-hmm. It actually happens without us having to even think about it. Mm-hmm. It is a self-transformation process in itself. It's actually working itself out. If all we are is truly light, then anything that's in the way, we don't need to think ourselves through it. We just allow that to come out, that our light to come out. So whatever your gifts are, like your daughter, her type of writing, the more you do that, the more it just dissolves that shadow.
Yes. See,
and there's a collective.
I'm going through right now. I'm like high anxiety because there's this big C Corp thing that I'm working on going on. And I'm like, it's gonna fail, because everyone around me is always, when you get ready to have that success, they tell you it's going to fail. So what do? I get paranoid. Okay, wait, this isn't me. I'm not a paranoid person. I know better. So over the weekend, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find me again, because I'm letting everyone tell me what they think is going to happen, not what I know my reality is.
Right. And somewhere, that's the thing, somewhere that happens, somewhere in our DNA, somewhere in our ancestries or past lives, where we did something really big, we did something really good, and we were probably massacred for it. Honestly, I mean, if you look at the big situations, the witch hunts, things like this, right? Wars that we've had, and I think it's in our collective shadow that there is, right when you get to that light, like, wait a minute, I might be punished. Wait a minute, I might be massacred. And it's not you, it's not me, it's not us here. It's actually a collective shadow from the consciousness of humanity. I saw that in my near-death experience. And our job is simply to move through it. Take our greatest strengths, our gifts, who we really are, and don't even think about the paranoia or whatever. What I tell people is, if let's say if it's paranoia, you talk to it like it's the shadow of the collective unconscious. You talk to it like it's another entity and say, thank you for being here. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm going through this now. And whatever's on the other side, it's still going to be me and my light here, whether you see it as a success or failure.
It's exactly what it is. But where can our listeners and our viewers find you?
Well, my name is Michelle Faith Lucas. I have michellefaithlucas.com is my blog site. And then all my self-transformation work is at creatingforward.com.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. I do wish we had more time.
No, thanks for having me.
You know, I love getting into these philosophical questions or conversations, because there's so much there that needs to be taught to people.
Yes, I know. It breaks my heart when I see people talking about their mental health or their depression, because I know so much of it is here. It's not here. It's them being shoved down. And I hope to help hundreds and hundreds of more. And hey, if I visit Dayton, I may ping you and let you know I'm nearby.
I'm up by Columbus right now, but if you're in the area, let me know and I drive down. I drive everywhere. So
awesome. Well, same with me. If I come that way, which I know I will sometime, I will get in touch with you.
Sounds awesome. And for the listeners and readers and viewers, happy reading, and get a hold of Michelle. I mean, we have so much mental health stuff to work through. Everyone needs a little light.
Yes, and I always give each person a 30-minute free consultation over the phone to start off. That way they know if they want to go farther or not.
Yeah, and that's the best thing to do. I mean, 30 minutes, just like here today.
Yes.
Super quick, but you can cover so much ground.
Yes.
So thank you again for being on the show.
I'll email you. Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.
Bye.